Okay, here we have Ethereum versus Bitcoin. We'll also do Ethereum versus the dollar as well. And I stick with what I said. I think this was 2 or 3 weeks ago once we came back down around here. This is very likely a macro top. There will be bounces along the way, but ultimately I'll be looking for this one to come down somewhere around 5.5 million satoshis before the next higher term time frame bounce. Problem is that this is, quite literally a fucking top right here. So I actually do think it might be somewhat likely for this to break long term, maybe around end of summer or end of year. That'd be below about 0.055, so that's 5.5 million satoshis. Below there, I would be looking for this one to put in big downside moves towards certainly below like 4 million satoshis long term, but that's only relevant for like the super macro. If you're on the daily right here, well, it's also down actually, and probably is going to retest these lows at 5.9 million satoshis. On the short term, 4 hour, same thing as well. I mean, it's trendy right here. You do have hidden bearish evidence, so very likely another move back down around those lows. I mean, I wanted to say that it probably has a bounce in here somewhere, but probably does have a bounce in here somewhere. So let's see where it's going to be relevant for a nice little bouncy bounce. I guess next sort of daily bounce maybe somewhere around about 5.8 million satoshis. But yeah, all lower term time frames actually suggest another downside move, at least towards the current lows. And then very likely a macro bounce at around 5.5 million satoshis. That's where things probably do get a lot more interesting long term. So we'll come back to it then. Until then, though, let's go reference the dollar chart. And this one's very likely in a rally, just very similarly to the other charts we looked at today. And short-term time frames like a 4 hour, I do think that this one makes a move back, basically somewhere back around last week's highs. But that's not the interesting portion about this chart. The interesting thing would be trading above last week's highs. So any sort of a move back above, I think this was 31st of May. Yeah, 31st, basically like low 2000s, or a daily closure, especially above 2000. And then, yes, I would be looking for the prior range highs to get tested, which is closer to about 21.5 to 22.5, or sorry, 2150 to 2250 or so. But the thing is like, when you're looking at the higher term timeframes here, just like all the other charts we've seen today, this has been basically an unabated move to the downside of more than 50%. I do think that it's reasonable to say that it's most likely over this next month or two to put in a bear market rally, with, targets maybe even as high as 2,700, relevant, with a stop along the way, very likely just below 2,500, and then again at 2,250 or so. But again, what would invalidate this, or what would make me like, I guess, bearish for looking for new lows first before looking for a try higher, would be with any sort of move below these 30 June lows, which is 1731.25. But yeah, that's it for Ethereum, and hopefully that was helpful.